Hi, welcome to Part of My Friendship. This is me, 143. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Boy, I have big hair today. I did not realize how big my hair was today. So look at me. Look at me with this big Dolly Parton hair. So, wow, 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 wow. Uh, um, wow. Hello to the moderator and hello to everybody. Yeah, I did not realize my hair was this big today. So, wow. Yeah, look at me. Anyways, so welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new here, welcome. If you are a regular here, welcome. Oh, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. Welcome, Michelle, and welcome, Baba from New Zealand. Hello, 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 hello. Thank you for joining tonight. Um, Today is Friday. We normally do these on Saturday. Normally Saturdays are kind of fun topics and everything, but today we are moving it to Friday because I have all this stuff to do on Saturday tomorrow. So, and today is exactly the higher the hair, closer to Jesus. Absolutely, that's right. Oh, Miss Christina's on. Welcome, Christina. Yay! Wait, thank you for stopping by. I know, and usually Saturdays topics are more fun topics, but I thought this one, since I've had such I was honestly, I will be very honest, I was debating doing this today. I look this is gonna make me sound like a narcissist. I look really good right now, but the past probably the past 48 hours, I looked like a train wreck. Uh, so and we'll talk about this all through the show because this show is going to be recapping all that because there's a lot that goes into that situation, but there's a lot that the more that I'm stepping back and I'm still in the process of everything, but there was a lot of things that I took from everything that I'm currently going through with it. And there's again, I'm always a glass half full type of person, no matter what. And um, there again, there's always I always say in every bad thing, there's always good that you can find in it. So and there's a lot of there's a lot of improvements that I saw that could be made in some of the places that I visited. So that's a good thing too. Whether those places would take my ideas, who knows? Probably, worth a shot to pitch it to them. That would be the next step for me. So wow, yeah, big hair. I should be from the South, right? Um, anyways, so so again, if you're new here, welcome. Join the chat. Feel free chime in, say your name. If you're new here, say hello. Again, join in all you want. Today is the look at the logo mug. If you like the logo mug, let me know. But anyways, the like I said, we're gonna talk about a lot of cool, fun, a lot of topics today. And I will try to get through it as much as possible without tearing up because I've spent the past probably 48 hours crying off and on, and so I'm trying not to do that any longer. So and we don't want to do that any longer. So we are on a good path, and as long as it stays on a good path, that is a good thing. So it is. You know what? You're right, Michelle. It is okay to cry. It is good to cry. It is but it's hard. It's hard it's hard when you're the one like in control of everything, and when you're the one that has to like you're the one like going here and there, and and I'll bring that up in a little bit too, because one of the places that I visited, or one of the places that we were at, it was just kind of interesting just how it was more of a, and I'll kind of give the differences too in a little bit, how one of the places was more business and the other one was more animal people focused. So it but like I said, we'll get into it. But you're 100% right. It is okay to cry, and I'll tell you another funny. There's so many. Like I said, there's so many kind of intricate things about what had happened in the course of this. So kind of to brief people that don't know what I'm kind of alluding to here, um, on the show, you'll normally see Rosie and Coco running around. Coco is normally the one that will be the goofy one popping in and hanging out the most. She is not here with us tonight. Coco is she's currently at the med vet in Columbus, Ohio. She had a situation the other day, and what had happened was all of a sudden she it was kind of odd. I was sitting there, we were sitting there, I was, drinking my coffee, we're just, watching, I was watching TV, it was in the morning, my day off, nothing new, nothing, whatever, everything was normal. And actually, she was on the couch and she was kind of, moving around and twirling around, doing like her normal, getting ready to lay on the couch kind of thing. And Rosie kept getting up and like going and running to Coco and kind of like, trying to play with her. And now Rosie is Rosie, and Rosie, I mean, she likes to play all the time. However, at 6 o'clock in the morning, she's not that typically rambunctious, right? And so I thought, well, Rosie's does weird things all the time. So, whatever. So I went downstairs, I got her a bunch of toys and came upstairs. I threw a bunch of toys at Rosie and she started playing. Well, Coco gets off the couch and goes downstairs. Coco gets off the couch and goes down, and she walks and she's kind of like laying down and she's getting uncomfortable. And then she's walking around, and then she kind of just like lays on her side, and then she goes again and she's like kind of like it's like she couldn't breathe. Like she was panting where she couldn't breathe. And then she like starts letting out like these little cries. And, that is totally not normal. And I'm like, oh, my first instinct was, get her out of here, get her to the vet, because that's not normal. And so what I did was I ran upstairs and, I was still in my pajamas, and I just threw my shoes on. Come here. Rosie's trying to get into something. Come on, before she gets into trouble. Come on, you're not eating the Christmas tree. Come on, come. Everybody wants to see you anyways. Come on, I know. Coco's not down here to play with. So anyways, as I ran upstairs to get my shoes, Coco goes in the kitchen where she kind of lays, kind of falls and lays down, and she's doing the same thing where she's like almost barely breathing. Well, I grab my keys, I throw Coco under my arm, and we run into the vet. And I have a very good vet, and evidently a very understanding waiting room, because there's a pretty good decent amount of people in there. I'm here's a crazy lady in her pajamas with a dog under her arm, running to the thing saying, my dog can barely breathe. And, they right away, just took her straight back. And of course, people in the waiting room just, they understood. So, and here's Rosie, front and center. So say hello to Rosie. But hello. You say hi. There's the potato. Say hi. So anyway, so we got her to the vet, and they checked her out, and they were looking at her, and actually she perked up, right? Coco perked up. Everything seemed okay, and they're like, it seems like she's got a little bit of maybe pulled something in her neck and all that. But honestly, she, they gave us some medicine. They like cleaned out her ears. They said like it seemed like there was something, like stuck, possibly in her throat. And they, they pushed some stuff through, cleared her throat. That was fine, and sent us home. And it seemed fine. Everything seemed fine. Probably within, I want to say maybe an hour of getting home, Coco took a nap, got up, and was doing the same thing. She was uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden she went to her side and then really started crying, really started crying. And I was like, okay, this is not good. And I couldn't figure out, what was going on. I'm thinking, there's no way it's just, a pulled muscle or whatever. So we go back to the vet. Now, here is a picture. So our first trip to the vet, this is how, sorry, Rosie, this is how she looked on our first trip to the vet. So she looked pretty normal here. Okay. Sorry, Rosie's pushing the paper. So here's how she looked on our first trip. So she looked pretty normal when we first went, right? On our second trip, when we went the second time, this is how she looked when we went back. And this was, within, probably hour and a half. This is how she was when we went the second time. She had gotten lethargic. She had gotten just like totally out of it, right? And totally different. And her breathing was labored. Everything was a complete, like, kind of 360. And so they took her to the back because that's where they have like oxygen and so forth. And so they took her to the back. I was in one of the rooms, and this is where one of the crying parts get in, right? So the one doctor comes in and she says, she's talking to me and she's like, you really should, go to one of the emergency vets. They can maybe do one of, yeah, exactly. Very different. But she was saying, you need to go to one of the emergency vets. They can probably do one of the surgeries to open up her airways, because what was happening was her airways were getting completely blocked. And the inflammation was totally cutting off her airways. And at this time, we didn't really know. We knew she had a pulled muscle in her neck, but we didn't know that she had like this huge, like, other problem that we were getting ready to find out. So we're deciding between two emergency vets. And I was like, I had been to, one of the ones years and years ago, which, they were great. I had not been to the other one. Well, the vet had recommended the one. And I'm like, I'd never been to them. I'd heard different things about them. Either way, I didn't care either way. So I'm like, all right, I'll try the one that they recommended. And this is where one of the crying parts comes in. That was interesting. And when you say it's okay to cry, this is a part where it kind of is funny, and it's not okay to cry. So the vet, they're preparing Coco for her ride. Now Coco is down to, not a lot of air at all. She's kind of lifeless. She's down to no air, and they've got her on oxygen in the back, and they're trying to stabilize her so that she can make the 30-minute car ride to the emergency vet. And I'm in tears, but not bad tears. I'm still, tears on and off, but not horrible. So the vet comes in and she's like, okay, you're going to go over there. She's going over, and I asked her, I said, well, the emergency vet that I'm going to, I said, are there, because they're associated with the college, I said, are there going to be, and there was a possibility that she was going to be going straight into surgery. I said, are there going to be students working on Coco? And she's like, yes, there's a possibility of a student working on Coco. Well, I lost it. Needless to say, I lost it. And not in a good way. I really, really lost it. And so this is the part that gets funny. And this is the part where, like, your vet knows you, right? My vet, like, maybe if she didn't know me, and maybe if it was like some other person on the planet, because at the time I was the one taking Coco by myself. My vet, she knelt down in front of me, and she knelt down in front of me, and she grabbed my hands, and she said, I'm going to need you to get it together. she goes, you have a 30-minute car ride. She goes, I know what you're going through. She said, I know you're upset. She said, but she goes, I need you to get it together. She goes, you cannot drive like this. She said, you need to get it together for your dog right now. She goes, I need you to stop crying. She goes, you need to cut it out for your dog. And, and you know what? And she was 100% correct. She was 100% correct. And I think she knew because she knew, you just, like I say, she was right. She was right. And she goes, she's like, you could cry afterwards. She's like, but right now, she goes, you need to pull yourself together. You have a 30-minute drive and you need to drive safe to get that dog where she needs to go. And, and I appreciated that. I appreciated that. Now, some people may have been like, well, blah, blah. No, I appreciated that because you know what? Again, I'm a strong person and I needed that. I needed somebody to, basically, word slap me in the face and say, get your shit together. This is not the time to do this. You can crumble some other time, so, and that's what I did. I yanked it together and I was like, okay. So they pulled me to the back and, they were trying. Yeah, exactly. And Michelle says that's what I was going to ask. How could you drive? Right, exactly. It's hard. It would have been impossible. I couldn't have been hysterical and drive. There's no way. It was a way too long of a car ride. So they had her in the back, and they were trying to stabilize her. Her breathing was just so out of whack, and because of how her pushed in faces and everything, it was just a mess. So. What they have a mobile oxygen. They have mobile oxygen machines. However, they only use them in the office. So their masks and stuff fit in the office. So they didn't have one like that goes on the road because they never take their oxygen on the road. So this also shows you like how dedicated vets are and how much you should appreciate your vets. Because as we're like in this emergency situation to get Coco where she needs to go, I'm back there, petting Coco. We've got the oxygen mask on her. She's half lifeless. The one vet is behind us and he's trying to MacGyver the mask. He's like, has a saw out and he's sawing this other like tube to fit the other tube that goes on the portable oxygen. And I mean, they're trying everything to rig this oxygen so that we can make it 30 minutes so that the dog makes it to the other facility. So, I mean, it just shows you like how dedicated, people are and how much to me, like how much they care. And it's not like they were just like, well, we don't have anything, hit the bricks. And so it was just an interesting like process. But so luckily, right, it does. Michelle says it takes a team. It does take a team. And just being back there and all I kept, I mean, granted, the whole like situation between the time that I first went to the vet and the second time I went to the vet, I'm still in my pajamas. I probably, and still pajamas, still, hair in a bun, still, no makeup. I looked like a train wreck, crying half the time. I, looked probably like a homeless lady and, just looked awful, needless to say. And, with my poor little dog. But luckily, the moderator was almost off work. So she was able to come over where we were at because I was like, there was no way that I could hold Coco, hold the oxygen mask on her face and get to the other facility. So she came over. The two of us were able to, get her safely to the other facility. And when we got to the other facility, that whole ordeal was interesting. It was interesting. And like I said, it was a different experience over there. They had a little parking man that there was a man that like he gives you tickets when you park and I they it was just an interesting experience. It just was an interesting experience. I won't say anything bad about the man. He just it just it was just bad timing. So so but yeah, the moderator says insane. Yes, it was just it, it was a bad interaction. Let me put it that way. I was carrying my dog into the into the facility in the emergency entrance, and he was asking me that I he was telling me I needed to park my car first. I was not going to do that. So, and I'll just leave it at that. So it, so that was a disagreement that we were not going to talk about. But anyways, so when we get her in there and they examine her and they send us home with meds. They send us home with meds, and we were there for a while. And they, I mean, they went through. They thoroughly they thoroughly they thoroughly looked her over and they do have students there, and they and God loves students. God loves students. I mean, because I will tell you this, and I when it comes to like intake and things like that, I I I appreciate it. I really do, and I 100% support students and students learning and students observing. I am a 100% supporter of things like that. The one young girl that was doing the intake for me there, I mean, is super nice. But I mean, just she's a student, and I mean, again, just super nice, super thorough. I mean, yeah, yeah, super thorough. So, but again, I love students, and again, you have to start somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere in life, and I was a student once when I was a paralegal, and I had to learn when I was in a law firm, and trust me, I made tons of mistakes and pissed off a lot of people in the court system, and I'm sure a lot of people said, "Oh, that stupid girl with the big hair," and because I had real big hair in the '90s, and but that's okay, right? Michelle says, I'm the kind of person, but when it comes to your dog, you flip. Well, that's kind of what I did to the poor little parking man too. Well, I mean, I had my lifeless dog, and I was trying to walk through the door, and he's telling me I needed to park my car. That was not going to happen, unfortunately. That was not going to happen. But needless to say, we agreed to disagree, and that was fine. It worked. It worked itself out. So, so and I ended up parking my car after I was done with intake. And I got my ticket. So, yeah, and that is true. And you know what? The moderator says yes. I am the same way when it comes to my children too. I am the same way when it comes to my kids too. Not just the animals. So, anyways, they do a thorough look over of Coco, and they send us home with some very strong pain meds, and and they said that she has just a real pulled muscle in her neck, and life is fine until that evening. They had us on a regimen, and it's interesting when you have it's interesting when you have a case like this, because part of the regimen on something like they have to be on kind of bed rest, and they can't move, and that's great. But when they're also on kind of like a timed pain thing, you have to time it so they're not in pain, and then you have to do the steroids, and it's bad as a pet owner, because you feel like I kept feeling her first. Let me just put it this way, I'm kind of like all over the place. We got home at like 9:30 p.m. At 2 a.m. She had this huge episode. And what I mean by that is she was on her side, and she was like in so much pain. I mean, pain to the amount of like crying out loud, like loud. I have a video of it. I don't want to show it. I mean, it's horrible. I can't even like watch it without crying. And the only reason why I have a video of it is because the vet made me take one. And which when she said take a video, I was like, what are you, a psycho? Who does that? But evidently you do that for, you know, and in all fairness, I told her that because I was like, I couldn't figure out why she wanted me to take a video of it. I'm like, I would never do that. And she's like, no, I needed to see what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, makes sense. But it makes me sad every time I watch it because I'm tending to my dog. I'm not grabbing my phone. You know, like why would I do that? But I guess, yeah, right. But yes, and Michelle, and I wasn't getting that at the time. I was like, what do you want me to do that? Why would I do that? And I'm thinking, she's like, well, get the video for your YouTube. Well, I'm not putting it on my YouTube. But anyways, but she's like, and it makes sense now. At the time it didn't, and it worked out even better because then when I went back to the vet with that video, they were like, oh, okay, her pain level that she's on, the pills we gave her, not even going to touch it. She needs to go back to the emergency vet because she needs more like opiates. Like she needs something, and then they need to do an MRI on her. So I went to a different emergency vet, the one that I had gone to years ago. And this is the one that we went to yesterday. And it was just her and I that went up there, and she was at this time, the reason why we had gone was because she had taken one of her last set of pills. She took her pill. She went into a huge episode. And then when she was in pain, like for 20 minutes, she wouldn't take her pain pills after that. So she was literally almost in pain for until like 2 hours, and I could not get her to take her pain meds. And granted, I say 2 hours, but I mean, she was in pain. She wouldn't take her pain meds, but she kept like falling asleep, and we kept moving her. She would get up and get some water, but then she'd lay back down, and she just wasn't moving. And I didn't know what to do. And so I'm like, I got to do something for her. So I went over to the other emergency vet, and the experience between the two was like day and night difference. And I don't want to say anything bad about the other one, because again, it just, to me, they're two different organizations. Again, one is a teaching facility as well. And again, they're two different facilities, two different things that they do, correct? So two different models, I guess, when you look at it. So, but this other one, they're not a teaching facility. So I saw a definite difference in they were more of a, what I would say, they catered more to the people and the pet. So, I mean, immediately because I was carrying her in, immediately a lady ran around the counter, and had a gurney, grabbed her from me. They, were, what's her name? And, what's your name? I mean, they made you feel like family right when you walked in the door. I didn't wait long. They had me in a room. Now, granted, it wasn't horribly busy. That was nice. When they evaluated her, they kept coming out, giving me updates. When the actual vet who, went over, reviewed, I'm sorry. When the actual vet who went over everything with her, she came in and, she sat, right in front of me, and she's going over everything, and, giving me all the options, telling me, what the best things to do, what the best routes to, to do. But it was just a different feeling. It was a feeling like, I don't, it just gave you a feeling like you could trust this person. And I don't know. I left. I had to leave her. She had to stay there overnight, and they were putting her in the ICU to be closely monitored. And they're, when I was there, they're like, you can call us as much as you want. We'll give you updates. And, um, they're like, you're not bothering us. It was just such a good experience. And especially because they knew how upset I was. It was such a great experience for the, the state of peril that I was in. And, because it was, they understand, how it happens when people come in. And yeah, years ago when I was there, I didn't have a great, I didn't have a great experience because I had a great experience with them. It wasn't a great outcome with my other dog because he had the boxer cardiomyopathy. He's the one that passed at the house. But it had nothing to do with them. I mean, they were wonderful. It just wasn't the diagnosis that I wanted to hear. And, that's not their fault. It's, that's life, right? Life happens like that sometimes. But fast forward to, I called a couple times last night. I called first thing this morning. They were always, right there with the answers, not acting like you're bothering them. You ask them a question, within seconds, they're, somebody's picking up the phone, telling you how, what a good girl she is, what she's doing. Before they did the surgery this morning, I had, she had to have two surgeries. She had, first they did an MRI and to find out what was going on with her neck. But I had two surgeons call. The first one called to go over, when they did the MRI, if there was an actual like slip disc or something. They went through everything, every option, like what they were doing when they went in there, if it was this, and this. And they went through everything. And then they took their time. Okay, what questions you have, and they, anything I had. And then after that, a second surgeon came in or called me, and she was having the surgery for her airways to be open because with the inflammation on the neck, it was closing up the airways. So she had to have that opened as well. So she had two surgeries in a row. And they each spent at least 45 minutes on the phone with me, explaining everything to me, the risks, everything, and, questions. And just absolutely just wonderful. And they didn't, they weren't like doctors. They weren't like talking to you like a doctor would talk to you. They talked to you like, they talked medical terms and stuff like that, but they weren't talking to you like, like they talked to you like they cared. They talked to you like they were talking about like if it was their dog and like if they were doing this and they just cared. I just felt like when I got off the phone with them, like, God, yeah, this person knows what they're doing. They're going to take care of my dog. And you knew that when you hung up, or I knew when I hung up that, like they said, or like the one surgeon said, hey, if we go in and it doesn't look like this is the right route, I'm going to take this route because that'll be safer for your dog. And just to have that kind of peace of mind is amazing, right? And so hang up with them. I got a text message when they did the MRI. They sent me a text message say, hey, we're starting the MRI right now. And then I got a second text message say, hey, we're starting, the surgery number 1, which was the airway surgery. And then I got the phone call from the first surgeon who had done the airway surgery. And he said, hey, I'm done with the first surgery. Everything looks great. Surgeon number 2 is starting on the neck. So after they had done the MRI, they did find that she had a bulged disc in her neck, and it was pretty significant, pretty severe. So they had to go in and clear all that out. And so the first surgeon was telling me it was going to take like a couple hours to do the neck one. And after that surgery was done, the second surgeon had called and said, hey, done with the second surgery, cleared everything out. Everything looks wonderful. She's back in ICU and resting. So, she said, so somebody will be in contact with you when she starts waking up, probably within, I don't know, probably within an hour, I would say, maybe an hour. Somebody else had called me. Now, in the meantime, both of the surgeons had sent me emails, saying, hey, just wanted you to know, we just kind of like nice little emails, like, hey, just wanted you to know I was the surgeon that worked on your dog, so that I had it like for record, this is what I did, this is what I performed on your dog, blah, blah, blah. But then within the hour, I got a call saying that, hey, she's coming out of anesthetic. Nice. Here's our next steps. When she's feeling a little bit better, we're going to, see if she'll eat, see if she wants to eat something. And then, we'll just have her on the road to recovery. And I said, great, perfect. Then I had sent an email to them. Probably, here, you want to go over here? Let me move Rosie a little bit over here. Let me move the potato. The princess potato. So I had sent them an email a little bit after that. And I had said, hey, I know, she's resting and all that. I said, but whenever you can, I said, if you wouldn't mind, if you can, I said, I know, because I won't be able to see her till tomorrow, because tomorrow is when the resident doctor will come through. We'll evaluate her, and then will let us know if she's able to come home tomorrow. If not, they'll keep her until Sunday. So, which is much as I want her home, I would rather her be in a facility where she's monitored, especially with her face and everything. And anyway, so they have within minutes of me sending that email, they sent me a text message right away. And she said, hey, she's, coming out of anesthetic still. Give us a little bit, and we'll send you over pictures. So this is the one they sent me at Coco. They said she's all nice and comfy, and that's her little blue blanket in the back. So they had that with her before she went into surgery. But so this is little Coco when she was recovering, and she's awake. She was just in her like a little recovery little area. So, but they're treating her real well. And after this stream, I'll give them a call too to see how she's progressing. But like they always say, no news is good news, which is their motto too. But she came through like a champ so far. And the only thing that we really have to worry about right now, according to them, is pneumonia. They call it it's some sort of like pneumonia that can happen from the anesthetic. So that's something that we have to watch. But they did say that if that does happen, it would happen like right after surgery. So she would be there if something like that would be on set, and they would be able to give, or they would know within. But if something like that was to come on, more than likely she's there when it does, and they can treat it with antibiotics and all that. But so we should know more in the morning, which is great. And she is doing wonderful. A couple of things that was really interesting. Again, I noted in the beginning of all this, had I not been off work, she probably could have died, with her airways closing and so forth. But, thank God for Rosie. Rosie's the one that really kind of alerted us to her being sick. She's the one that kind of like was letting us know what was going on. And then I'll show you this picture, because the whole time, even like when we brought her back to, back home, when we brought Coco back home from the vet the couple times, and then when Coco was going through her episodes where she was like crying out and all that stuff, uh, Rosie Rosie was a wreck. She was a wreck. She's still a wreck. Rosie has not eaten all day. The only thing Rosie has eaten is she's eaten um, well, probably now a full piece of pizza. But because because we had pizza tonight, and I was worried about her because she hasn't eaten anything. Yeah, they do. Michelle says dogs have a sixth sense. They do. Rosie is so upset, and she every time she goes out, she right away runs to Coco's bed and smells her bed, and um, I keep telling her, I'm like, Coco's coming home. I'm like, Coco's coming home. Coco's coming home. But here's a good example. I took this picture, and this is one of the trips when between us going to the med vet, the second vet that we were at. But you can see, I mean, Rosie did not leave Coco. Coco's on the ground, but Rosie the whole time was like right above Coco. I mean, she just would not and then if Coco would make a noise, she would be, looking, she would be all over her. And, just she was worried about her. She was worried about her. And I was trying to edit the video for my vet, that horrible video that I told you about. I was trying to edit it for my vet, and and I had to keep the sound down, A, because I hated the sound of hearing her cry. But B, Rosie would like start crying. She kept like, because Coco was laying on the ground sleeping, and Coco or Rosie was like going crazy. Like she was like getting upset and looking at Coco like she was confused. She kept looking at my phone, looking at Coco, and like she couldn't figure out why, okay, Coco's laying there, but the phone, like she couldn't figure out what was going on. Like why I hear her crying, but I see her laying there. So and I kept saying, I'm like, no, I'm like, so they know. I mean, like it's interesting how like one event can just it affects the whole family. And I mean, Lola's the same way. When we every time like I went to the vet and came back, I mean, both dogs were all over her. We're all over um we're all over Coco. So they know they know that something's wrong. They know that something's off. But I mean, Rosie's a mess. She's a mess. She hasn't left my side. I've been, working from home, the past 2 days, and she won't leave my side. She's upset. She hasn't eaten. She ate pizza today, and just because I, made her basically. And I even tried to give her part of a donut. She wouldn't even eat a donut. That's not like her. She's she's I know it's probably not great to give dogs donuts, but I was getting kind of desperate here. Because again, I mean, she loves her sister. I mean, they're like two peas in a pod. And it's sad when one's away and she doesn't know what's going on. And it's sad for I think that's one of the things that kind of broke my heart with uh with all this happening with Coco, on top of the whole situation itself. But I mean, Coco's deaf. She was already a shelter dog. And granted, I know that they're taking very good care of her there. I know that in my heart. I know that. But still, she's away from me. She's away from her family. She's away from her home. This is her safety. And they're it's hard for them to understand that. And then they are in a different place, and they're of course getting poked and prodded, and now like a surgery and stuff. And I'm sure she just she wants to see her mom, and because that's all they do. They sit here and they follow me all around. And I mean, because who wouldn't follow me all around? Hmm. Isn't that right, moderator? I did that for the moderator. I thought she'd like that. But anyway, so no, but seriously, like it's moderator rolled her eyes. Um, but no, seriously, like it's yeah, I mean, again, but I don't, and then I was thinking too, here, you know, granted, Coco's like severely. I mean, there was no way, there was no way that there is no way that I could have had this. There's no way I could have monitored this with medicine. I know that some people were saying there's, is there like, could you have like done this, taken this situation and like taken her home and monitored her with medicine and so forth, or just like kept her on like a steroid and not done the surgery? There's no way. If I showed you the video and if you heard what severe pain she was in, and to sit there and think that or know that at any moment she can go into these episodes because of the way, I mean, it's like right at the way, it's like right at the top of her neck. So is where the bulging disc was. So when she eats, when she moves her head, I mean, right. I mean, it's it's right there. So it's not like something that, yeah, maybe you could put off or you could try to do something else with. But I mean, it's a part where you use all the time, and there was no way, because I was kind of laughing to myself today. I'm like, I have like the worst back in the world. I have, a horrible case of scoliosis. I have spinal stenosis. I've got all this, horrible, like, chronic pain stuff in my back that I've been dealing with since I've been a kid. And here, 48 hours, I'm like, rushing my dog, into surgery so that she doesn't have to deal with chronic pain. But like, it just, but that just shows you how much I love her. I mean, I love her. I'll do anything in the world for to make sure that these creatures or my kids or my family, they don't have to deal with that stuff. And yeah, it's going to be a small 48-hour window or 72-hour window that she's away from home, but um, at least she won't have to go through that again. That's the biggest thing. The biggest fear for me was that, God forbid, something happened in surgery or, immediately after. But now I'll know that she won't be going through, that horrible pain again. Because I mean, like I said, maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll show, part of the video sometime. It just, like I said, it just breaks my heart. And that poor baby did not deserve that. Just did not deserve all that. But um, I will I will I will share I I will share something kind of, well, and it's funny. I guess it's not. It's funny and it's not funny. Uh, Christina said you did the right thing, Jen. Meds would have just, yeah, put off the inevitable, which would have ended up with surgery. It could, well, you're right, Christina. It would have ended up with surgery, or like, God forbid, depending on, I mean, I don't know where the thing was. I mean, they said it was like at the base of her spine or base of her neck or whatever. But I mean, who knows if it could have, like, I don't know how close it was to where, like, maybe a part of her spinal cord was. Maybe it could have caused paralysis. I don't know. I mean, they didn't get that deep into it with me. Maybe I can ask tomorrow, but who knows? I mean, if I was able to put it off and, God forbid, something like that happened, I would never freaking forgive myself. I mean, that is something that, and I know that, that's like, that's something that on my Tuesdays that I preach for, that you need to forgive yourself. But damn, I don't know if I could. I'd I'd have to take that segment out of my show on Tuesdays. I'd be a hypocrite because I don't know if I could forgive myself. for, if I let it go and then the damn dog went into paralysis, because that would just kill me. That would just kill me. But then, okay, then look at it on this side. So here, okay, so I'm at the other facility when this was the other night when I'm at the other facility, and my dumbass, and I'm going to say this, my dumbass, I may go moderator, I may go over an hour, so don't be ticking the clock on me. So my dumbass is all upset, and I and I choose to now, mind you, keep in mind now, everybody that is on here, look at me, and you can see the Frenchy ears behind my head. So just FYI, because I just noticed that when I'm looking at myself, I look like I have ears. But anyways, um, so so um, but anyway, so what I did, and I didn't do it on purpose. I just happened to, when I went into the second facility to pick Coco up after her evaluation, I chose, uh, not on purpose, I don't think, to sit next to the reception area. Like right when you walk in, I just sat down, right? Well, I don't know. I mean, like when you're there, you hear everybody that's coming in, right? You hear, they, you just happen to hear the stories when they're coming up to the desk. And it doesn't help when you're already upset. But then, I mean, it's almost like, I hate to say it, it's, in a place like that, it's almost like good gossip, right? It is and it's not. I mean, especially, I mean, it's just, it's an interesting place. But I will tell you this, I don't know if I'd want to work there for a couple different reasons. And I mean, not just that facility, but any kind of like animal facility. And just because of, the nature of some things, because I mean, there was one person there that came in with a dog. She came in with a mother dog and a box. And now, mind you, like I'm in tears, falling apart, like a crazy lady. And I'm sitting there trying to mind my own business, which, Lord knows how hard that is. But I'm trying to mind my own business, and this lady comes in with a box, and she's got this dog on a leash, and I'm like, oh, that's a cute dog, and the dog is like clearly, looks like a mother dog, clearly, has her little udders and stuff, and I'm like, and she's at the desk, and I hear her because she's right there saying that the dog just had puppies, which were in the box, and she doesn't know if the dog still has another puppy or two in it. Like she thinks that maybe this dog is still not done having puppies. And she was asking if the emergency vet could take an x-ray to see if they still have puppies in her. And the emergency vet said, we can, but it could be up to like $600 or something for the x-ray. And the lady did not have the money for that. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and she's talking, and all I'm seeing is this box, and I'm seeing this dog that was the cutest dog, and the dog is like clearly shaking because it just dropped puppies, and and I'm sitting there like, this is not the time to do this to Jen, because Jen's falling apart, and all I'm seeing is this mother dog and this lady that has no money, and this dog shaking. And I can't do this right now. And so I'm like, okay. And I'm listening because I'm nosy. And she's like, the other, the one staff member was like, well, are you, how do you know, did you know how many puppies she had? And the lady is like, no, I don't, and she's like, well, we can't help you if you don't, have it. And she's like, well, is there any place else that, would could do an x-ray? And they're like, no, we don't know. But, I mean, they're going back and forth about this. And all I keep seeing is this damn dog, like shaking. And I'm like, my head is like like, I just want to yell, like, just give her a goddamn x-ray. Like, how hard is it to see if there's any more puppies in there? I mean, at that point, to me, it's like, because if there's not, then okay, yay. If there is, then, and if there is, then, and she doesn't pass those puppies, that mother dog is going to die. I mean, that's all I keep thinking is, if the mom dog doesn't pass those puppies, she's going to die. And all over $600. That's all that's going through my mind right now. And so I'm like, all right, give it a minute. Give it a minute, Jen. Do you just give her the $600? Do you just give the lady the $600? And, because I'm already miss. And, not like I just have $600 to go throwing around. But I'm like, kind of freaking out too, because I'm freaking out anyways in life, right? Yeah, right. You said, and then what's going to happen to the puppies, right? So, I'm waiting, and so, anyways, the lady, they're like, well, there is, care credit, and I'm like, oh my god, there's care credit, I'm like, oh, there's care credit, and so the lady's pulling out her phone, and I'm like, so here, I'm like waiting, I'm like, is she going to get approved? And because the lady's like, well, I don't know, I might not have good credit. I'm like, god damn it, she might not have good credit. And I'm, I mean, there's all these things going on, and I keep looking at this dog, and I'm like, okay, well, she doesn't get approved for care credit, then okay, Jen, just give her $600 for, and I'm thinking, well, maybe they'll negotiate with it. I mean, there's all these things going on in my mind, right? And I'm thinking, why am I invested in this? And then I'm like, I'm talking to somebody else about this, and they're like, were you really going to give her $600? And I'm like, it wasn't about her. It was about the dog. It was about this dog that could die over $600. Possibly. I mean, there very well could not have been any puppies in there, and they would have been fine, and life would have been fine. But it was the fact that I was upset. I didn't know what was going on with my dog. And here's another thing. Again, I'm sitting where I'm sitting, which was probably not the best seating in the world. And I should have known better, because the place is huge. I mean, there was like 40 seats in that damn place. And I sit by the door. And then, like, after that, she did get approved, by the way. She got approved. I don't know if there was any puppies in there. They took her back. I never saw her again. Maybe they killed her back then. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, but she did get approved and all that stuff. So I don't know whatever happened to her after that, because I got Coco and life went on. But anyway, but then, like, I'm also sitting there, and then, like, the next people come in, because again, this is an ER vet. It's not like just a normal vet. I'm sitting there, and it's, a car pulls in, and they rush out with a gurney, and they're putting this old dog on a gurney, and it's like, well, we just want to know if we can do quality of life, or if we're just going to say goodbye today. And I'm like, oh my god, and I'm like, and then I'm crumbling again. I'm like, why did I pick this seat? But then I'm like, that's when it hit me. That's when it hit me, because then, of course, they rolled that dog by me, and that dog looked so damn sweet. It was a little chocolate lab, and I mean, he looked so sweet. And that they ended up doing quality of life on that dog, and he did go home, thank God, because I don't know if I could have taken any more, but he did end up going home. But but while I was there, there had to be at least at least three euthanasias while I was there, because they're emergency vet. I mean, and here's what I was getting at before. You're gonna have that at emergency vet, and that's fine. You're gonna get that at any vet. But one thing that I noticed, and this is one of the things that I thought that they could improve on. Couple things. This is where I saw that they were more of a pet facility. And now, and to back this up, has nothing to do with their quality of care, nothing to do with their facility in general. Not saying anything about that. As a patron looking in, overall feel, sitting there seeing 3 people walk out with empty leashes, I thought given how big that facility is, I thought that they could do a better job with end of life care for the people. I didn't see one pamphlet in a hand for those people. I didn't see any kind of care package for those people that were walking out with empty leashes. I didn't see one goddamn Kleenex for those people walking out with empty leashes. I saw one girl with an empty leash walking out, holding it together until she hit those doors, and then bursting into tears as soon as she hit those doors. And not one person gave a shit except for me, I think. And that's what I'm, and why? That's what they do there. That's what they do there. So you have all aspects of veterinarian care, except the aspect of where you care for the person. The person that is the one that is bringing you the animal, the one that's paying for the care. And I mean, that, I don't know. I feel that that's an important element of the whole thing. To me, it is. I mean, hell, I was in, I mean, you can ask the moderator. I feel bad for her because she's going to, deal with me blubbering in the one facility in the waiting room a few times. But I mean, people walked by me and didn't say a word. I mean, didn't even say anything. I mean, there was, people walking by, they didn't care. Nobody offered me anything, didn't offer to go, there's people that work there that were walking by. They didn't offer to go get me a coffee or, it was like, say, hey, can I get you water? Can I get you Kleenex? I mean, no, just like quality of care. Nobody cared. And, I mean, to me that it's a missing element. Let me just put it that way. It's a missing element of and maybe is that why? Is that why the stigma around pet loss is the way it is? Is that why it's just a dog? Is that why it's just a cat? I mean, I don't know, but that's why I do this. That's why I want to break that stigma. That's why it's important to me. And maybe this is another thing I was kind of talking to the moderator about too. Maybe because that is more of a teaching facility. I mean, I understand that there's a point where you have to kind of desensitize. You do have to kind of desensitize yourself because, I love our vets. I love our vets. I love our vet assistants. Hands down, I support, the majority of them, the good ones. Absolutely. They have a very, very tough job. I commend them because, again, they see some really, really bad things. And I don't know. I don't know if I could do what they do. I've sat in on several euthanasias and stuff like that. I don't know if I could do it every day. I don't know if I could do it every week. I mean, these people do this every week. They see this stuff. They see injured animals every week. I have a video of Coco that like hurts my soul. They see that stuff every day. Or, I mean, especially an emergency vet, right? Right? Yeah. Michelle says, yeah, then you think yeah, good karma, right? But I mean, they see that stuff every day. And, so I guess it comes to a point where you do have to desensitize, but to me, you have to desensitize to, you have to desensitize to the, maybe like, to me, I would think you'd have to desensitize to like, oh yeah, that's gross. But not just, I mean, like I couldn't be a surgeon. Let me just put it that way. I couldn't do open heart. The moderator could do open heart surgery. I couldn't do open heart surgery. I'd pass out. I wouldn't pass out. I would just be grossed out and like probably throw up. But like, I mean, there's certain things I don't think I could do. And I mean, and that's all right. People are put on this earth to do certain things. That's not one of them for me. Mm. But I don't know, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, there's people put on this earth to do certain jobs for certain reasons. And it just, people that can be in that business are put here for a reason, and they see all sorts of things. But I think, I've talked to a lot of young kids that say I want to be a vet, and I'm like, okay, well, a big part of being a vet is taking care of the people. It's not just taking care of the animal, it's taking care of the people that are with that animal. That's a huge part. And if you don't have that aspect of it, to me, you're going to make a shitty vet. Because you gotta, if you don't, I mean, and again, where Coco is right now, they're the perfect storm. They have the perfect weight. I mean, they're right there with everything. I mean, they take care of the people, they take care of the owner, they take care of the people. I mean, they're the pet and the people. It's just they know what they're doing. And to me, it's Coco, what Coco's going through right now is very expensive. Needless to say, very expensive. Um, she has to have it regardless. But I know that she, I know that I knew that she was, safe. I knew that she's, healthy, and she's going to live a rest of her life. She's 3 years old. She's got a nice long life ahead of her. And now that her airways are open, she's going to live a really, longer life. Thank God. Because honestly, that was one thing that I was kind of worried about, because her airways were real bad. And I was considering getting that surgery anyways with the opening of the airways with her, because that poor baby. I mean, she was born with some really, really, clogged up airways. But the Michelle says the shaming in the reception office about oh yeah, yeah, and, well, when you talk about money too, a lot. I mean, thank God for pet insurance. To be honest, pet insurance is like a big thing now. Thank God. But a lot of people, I mean, these prices for care, and I mean, is crazy. I mean, like honestly, if you don't have the money, I mean, I mean, there's a point where I was just like joking, and I was like, they keep throwing these prices, and they're like, hey, just so you know, if we have to give her this sedative, we have to give her this. It's going to be $250. It's going to be $500. They throw all these numbers at you, and I'm like, at this point, I will cut out my kidney and give it to you. Just do what you need to do, you know. But and I'm very, again, I'm not fucking Jeff Bezos, but I'm lucky enough that I can say, yeah, okay, do it, But oh yeah, Michelle's, yeah, for teeth cleaning. Oh my God, I know, right? Teeth cleaning, things like that, they could be like horribly expensive, right? But yeah, some of those prices are just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. for things, and or just even like a regular exam. When she was supposed to have just, I was supposed to go Tuesday to have her just like her uh, a consultation for the Bose surgery with opening just of the airways, and this was just for a consultation for them to look at her opening of the airways, and that was $290 just for a consultation to have them look at her. That's not doing anything. That was just that. But thank God I didn't have to go to that because we did all this. So, but yeah, that was just for a consultation, $290 to meet with surgeons. Yeah. So, but we didn't have to do that. Now, granted, I paid a lot more with all this other stuff, but like, but if I didn't have all this, if I wasn't lucky enough, I wouldn't be able to afford this. And there's a lot of people that have to make very tough decisions with their animals because they don't have the money. So, I mean, and that's sad to me. People should not have to make a choice between the health of their animals and, the life of their animals and the health of their animals because of money. That's that's hard. You shouldn't have to say goodbye to your animal because you don't have the money. That's not right. I don't think that that's right. And they don't. There's no like, hey, put this on. Now again, thank God for care credit. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. But there's no payment plans and there's no anything like that. So I don't know. But anyways, I think I've rambled on for a long period of time today. Oh, I did want to share this right before I go. I will share this. In my all my upsetness, I do want to thank Michelle for making this great picture for me. Of the three girls. I do appreciate this. Thank you, Michelle, for making this for me. I appreciate this so very much. It made me laugh. It really made me smile. Thank you, Michelle, for making this. And thank you for everybody for popping in and out on the chat and in viewing. I do appreciate you all. And if you are watching the replay of this, thank you for stopping by. Remember, on Tuesdays are the pet loss support chats, and please, if you know anybody that has lost a pet or needs help with processing grief and support, please tell them about the channel. We are always here for you, and we do not want you to be alone. Again, appreciate everybody that stops by. Thank you. Let's see, next week it will be on Friday because we're doing something on Saturday. So yeah, we will have another one on, well, no, it might be on Sunday. Well, we'll see. It'll either be Friday or Sunday. Loves to you too, Michelle and Bubba. But yeah, it'll either be Friday or Sunday. We'll see. Friday or Sunday. Either way, it'll be on there. So you'll know. But we will still have Tuesdays for Pet Loss Day at 7:00, and then either Friday or Sunday. But you'll see it on there. So again, if you don't have a friend, you have one now, and I will have more updates on Coco. Hopefully she will be home soon, hopefully by tomorrow or the next day, and she will be back home where we can have a good time. So anyways, thank you all for stopping by. Take care. Bye. Bye.